I want to get into Obama attempting to foment, along with Al Sharpton, MSNBC, and others, racial division and civil unrest in this country as a political diversion. We have predicted this. 2 weeks before Mr. Brown was shot dead in Ferguson, I shot a special report, and we wrote an article predicting, we'll put that up on screen for folks, predicting staged race riots in America with the headline, Army Training to Fight Blacks. Special Emergency Alert. So the Justice Department goes in and foments, while at the same time then sending the police and military out to deal with what they have fomented. Flashback, U.S. Army training to fight black Americans, Doomsday Disneyland facility used as practice ground for civil unrest. November 26 is when we republished that. But if you go back to the article, we flashbacked that last week. You can see that it was first published July 17th, and it's timestamped 2014. If you go to the YouTube video beneath it, you can see the company itself putting out the promo video. And then if you go below that video, you can see the special report that I filed. And what's the title of that one? I forget. I believe it's Special Report, Army Trains to Fight. There it is. Army Trains to Combat Black Americans. You can click on that on YouTube, show folks the timestamp. That is July 17th, 2014. And it's a 29-minute report. Now, there's some other news I covered in there, but I'm very tempted at the bottom of the hour to play this report again so that people can really hear it and see it in context and understand that there are foreign interests that control the country through the private Federal Reserve. They need to get the police and military, who are loyal Americans on average, as bad as the police are around the country, they're more informed and more loyal and more awake than the general public in my research on the street and in the numbers. So that's why I criticize the police, and some departments are completely criminal. Other departments are pretty good overall. The larger issue is they're being globalized. They're being standardized. They're being overtaken right now. Just like Hitler took over the military in 1933 in Germany, in Deutschland. If somebody could have reached out to the military and the police before all that happened, 20 million Germans might not have been killed, and tens of millions of others. But Germany's mistake cost them 21 million people. Look it up. And it was the military too late that tried to stop the Nazi party. Well, what we have is a globalist party that doesn't get in trouble because they've got the big accounting firms and the lawyers and the law firms, and they have all these degrees of separation. They fence their corruption through all these international agreements and bodies and boards, and no one ever takes responsibility for what they've done. And the globalists are trying to make the police and the governing class a new subclass that's above the general public that has special rights, kind of like local petty nobility or something. This is the attempt, and people see that corruption. They see that above the law, haughtiness and arrogance in the feds and in many police departments. And they see the corruption and the government drug dealing, and they see the rich being above the law, and it makes the public angry. But when I ask, what is your line in the sand, the system wants to just make it about the police. That's what Obama's doing. That's what the Justice Department's doing. Local police, state, county, and city. So that the feds can be the saviors by federalizing when the feds themselves have gone under UNESCO and the UN and munionization and Agenda 21. And under these treaties, they've already federalized most of the police and have given them the training and created the culture that the public hates. And their answer is more federalization to counter that. So when MSNBC and CNN, and I covered this yesterday, Time Magazine's headline, when it's time to riot, or a time for rioting. We'll pull the actual headline up. I'm going from memory. And then CNN goes, this is legitimate demonstration. You know, burning things down is demonstrating. Really, beating up a woman just because she's white and she works at Papa John's making $12 an hour, that's legitimate because she tries to cook pizzas for the community. Blocking traffic and attacking whites in their vehicles, just like we saw in the LA riots, now happening again. That's a good thing. That's legitimate. The media, the controlled globalist-run media, is trying right now to foment a race war. There's the headline, Ferguson in defense of rioting. We have a 45-minute video of nothing but white people's cars being stopped in St. Louis and Missouri by mobs of black people. And, I mean, by the way, the police just stand back and let this go on. It's not like they're just blocking traffic so the cars can't go by. They're taunting. They're getting in the people's faces. They're screaming at them just because they're white. I mean, imagine seeing a mob of white people going into an area and blocking the cars of black people. I mean, this is Ku Klux Klan type behavior. And I'm just glad, I mean, if a group of white people, Hispanics, black, whatever, came and tried to block my car, I'm going to get in their face. And there's videos of me getting in people's face, not because I'm a tough guy. You are trying to enslave me and oppress me by blaming me just because of my skin color for something that happened. And now you've got the NFL players, you know, putting their hands up when they make a touchdown. I mean, this is really being pushed by the system. We don't have rights to not be spied on by the NSA. They're trying to take our Second Amendment. They're poisoning us all through the vaccines and the GMO. All this is happening to you, no matter what color you are. But they don't want us realizing foreign banks have signed us on to $2,000 trillion. Was 1.5 quadrillion, the Wall Street Journal and others reported. Now it's 2 quadrillion in derivatives, over 100 times all the real wealth in the world. None of it's even our debt. Our debt's 19 trillion. They've signed us on to 2,000 trillion. Well, the U.S. has signed on now. It was 60-something. Now it's 100 trillion of that. The IMF and World Bank and the Davos Forum says that's our debt that these bankers created to tie us to it. And our politicians have been controlled. We should all be focused on the criminal mega banks that aren't free market, that are shutting down the real banks and credit unions and our industry and trying to pass laws where mom and pops can't operate. This is about a monopoly of control to dominate the future. And now Obama to hold Ferguson meeting at White House and to plan press conferences, you name it, and to meet with elected officials and law enforcement. So they're just going to hype this like this is the biggest issue in the world, and you know, it's legitimate what's going on, to hope this goes on all over the country. And they've got Democratic Party operative groups. You can read the signs, who puts them out, socialist, communist groups out there fomenting it in all 50 states to make political change be about racial division. That's classic balkanization, the opposite of what will actually bring society together and fix things. Obama to discuss efforts to improve nationwide law enforcement post-Ferguson. See, the feds are going to fix it with more armored vehicles and more checkpoints and more tasers and more threat continuum, shoot people at the drop of a hat. And then when the cops do that, oh my gosh, more federalization to answer it. I told you back in July exactly what was coming, and now it's happening. And I also told you they're going to turn their FBI informants and operatives and dirty tricks people loose on the real media, on the libertarian media, and on the Tea Party. And it's going on hardcore. Infiltration of organizations, attacks, sabotage, dirty tricks, stuff being made up. I expect this. We're going in, folks. This is the attempted takedown of the Republic. The attempt to start a civil war, playing the people off against the police and people off against each other racially, so that whites will feel threatened and side with the establishment and the police state, and departments that are trying to be good departments will feel threatened and will go under federal control and militarized control. And so that minorities, who are really the majority now in most areas, will see the Democratic Party as their capo in the prison, And then it's how they control prisons. And the UN's the warden. And they've got us all in racial gangs. And we're all in a prison together like a bunch of chumps. Militant enthusiasm, Conrad Lorenz, psychology, dumbing it all down. We'll give the number out when we come back and get to some of these clips. Stay with us. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.